This is a little portable stereo that we've used for a good long time. You can see it's had a lot of loving abuse, but it no longer works. We had a little mishap with it. We've had to replace it. But just before I set this aside, I want to just kind of go over what this one did. It has a cassette player, a CD player, and of course a radio. All the functions are over here. Our radio tuning, our volume control, and this is what I'm really focusing on today. It's a function switch where we can switch between the AM FM radio functions, play the CD, or when it's set to the cassette tape and the tape is not running, the whole system's off. The batteries in here are not connected to the circuits at all. And but we had to replace this with a new one, so this is what we got. It lacks the cassette player, and so it doesn't have any function switch. This is the only analog control on it, the volume control, and nothing else. On the other side, everything's handled digitally with buttons in the front. Power button is here. Turns on the radio, and we can change functions to the CD player or which channel we want on the radio. And because of the location we use this, we just run it on batteries. It does have the capability of running a AC power cord in the back like the old one did, but as I say, because of the setting we were using, we don't use that. We use the batteries that are on the inside here, and this one is how that looks. But we use rechargeable batteries. This is what the charger looks like, and we actually have two sets of these, so we can charge a whole set of batteries while we're using up these batteries. Okay. But even though rechargeable batteries, one thing that annoys me, and that's this little red light and the fact that everything works off this button here, or these sets of buttons here, tells me that the power circuit, this control circuit, and this little red LED are all drawing current off the batteries even when we're not using it, which is most of the day. Well, no big deal, you say, because we're using rechargeable batteries, but I don't like having to change the batteries any more often than I need to. And so I contemplated how I might be able to add a switch to this that would disconnect the batteries from the rest of the circuit, and so when we're not using it, it wouldn't draw power. And then it dawned on me this already does have such a switch, and it is inside this power cord socket. This is the power cord that came with it, and we stick it in here, and on one side of this cavity there's a little switch, and when this goes in, it presses against that switch and opens it up, and so that we see as now the power circuit capacitor is discharged, the light goes out. There's no longer any connection between the batteries and the rest of the circuit inside this unit. So we can save the batteries that way. But having to deal with this cord to do that every time we want to shut it off is a clutter and a nuisance. Besides, this is really stuff to put in and take out. So can I some other way activate the switch in there to shut off power from the batteries to the rest of the stereo? And so what I did is I took a dowel rod, and just so I can work with it a little more comfortably, I cut off a small section that I could put in my drill press, drill two 1/8 inch holes that will match up with the holes on the power cord. Then whack at this with a file to shave it down and give it a shape that is approximate to the power cord. It doesn't have to be precise. Just the width of it the thickness of it just has to be wide enough so that when we stick it into the socket here, it will open the switch and power then will be disconnected. The batteries will be disconnected from the rest of the stereo. And so when we want to use it, we just pull this out, and when we're done, we just put it back in again, and thus we save our batteries and not have to be changing them and charging them quite so often.